Hi, my name is Jasmine Penter. I'm a private practice counselor and life coach at Ignite with my master's in social work. This video I'm going to cover boundaries and the importance of healthy boundaries. Boundaries help us navigate through daily activities that we go through at work, at school, in social interactions with family members, friends, and they can help us communicate. They help or hinder tasks, communications, and are part of every interaction we have with the outside world. Someone who may be struggling with boundaries may be isolating due to lack of trust, guilt, pain, shame, or they may be overbearing, over communicating, unaware of their presence and effect on other people and or another person's personal space. During crisis, boundaries often change. For an instance, perhaps your sister's in the hospital and several family members are now coming together to support her and her family, and others might be asking, how can they help? Because this is a new pattern, your sister may have to figure out what help she can accept, who in her family can coordinate that, and how to communicate those needs to everyone around her. Poor boundaries can be very overwhelming, can trigger past emotions, can be confusing, frustrating, and maddening. Clear boundaries can provide a sense of safety. They can help with showing expectation or drawing those expectations out, and help a support system utilize resources efficiently, so that more than one person aren't doing the same thing or overlapping. Strong and healthy boundaries at work can include employees who work hard but leave at the end of an 8-hour day, include colleagues that don't participate in gossiping, where morale is high and each team member feels they are valued and matter. Relationships suffer when boundaries are not clear. Examples of this could be when one family member is always bailing someone out financially, when household chores fall on primarily one person, when one person doesn't ever go out without another, when a family member always buys beer when another one in that very same household is clearly trying to quit drinking. Name calling, put downs, belittling are often parts of poor boundaries. If those have been accepted over time, it can be just expected and hard to change, but important. Tips to assess and create healthy boundaries. So how to assess if the boundaries around you need help. Do you regularly feel resentful of what is expected of you? Do you feel stressed, overworked, or underappreciated? And this can be both at home, at work, at church, on a committee, part of a team, sports team, or maybe a foundation that you're part of. Do you feel are your feelings hurt by words or behaviors of others? So that kind of goes back to, is name calling or put downs, belittling somebody that doesn't acknowledge your wisdom or input in the matter. Do you feel isolated or alone? If all of your problems went away and you were living a good life, what would that look like? So that's a really important question, and it can help you figure out what areas could you pay attention to that could help you reach that ideal life or that ideal situation. What are your own expectations of yourself? And what are the consequences of shortening your list of responsibilities? So oftentimes people feel resentful or underappreciated, but they're expecting way too much of themselves. And maybe that's not what's expected around them, but because they don't accept help or that's how they've always done it, the system evolves as it continues as it has. So, something won't change unless you ask for it often. You may be doing too much, but if you've always done too much, that's just going to continue until you say, hey, I need some help here. Could I divvy out some of these tasks? Could I not do this? Does laundry need to be done every day? I don't know. What you have to decide what you can live with. What are the consequences of not taking care of things as is? Set time for a family meeting or a staff meeting or a one-on-one with the person that you're having troubles with. So this can be helpful, for an instance, at home, if you're feeling like you're doing more chores than not, or maybe you have a special project coming up and you just can't do the same amount of chores for a while. So how do others step in? How can you decide together how those things will be taken care of? Or what do you all agree doesn't need to happen for a short time? Discuss how you're feeling and what you hope to improve, what you are willing or not willing to do. So this is important in that family meeting or staff meeting. Obviously, when you're bringing these things to the table, others may resist what's being suggested or may say, why is this a problem? You've never complained before. It's important for you to say, the bottom line is, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. And maybe some folks will have, some suggestions. So something that you may have done weekly, maybe you could do monthly instead, or twice a month, and somebody else could fall in on the other weeks. Or maybe you do continue doing one of those tasks, but they help in other areas that maybe they're better at that you didn't even consider having let go. So, this is a dialogue, and while it's good for you to come in with suggestions and tips, being open to what the feedback of others that are going to obviously or hopefully help improve the situation will be important. Track progress. So this is actually really important, because often we have these conversations, things are good for a while, and then they kind of fall back into how they were. Or maybe some other things have come up where somebody does part of the chores that you were going to do and they don't do them as well as you would like. You may have to let that go, or maybe you can provide some suggestions there. But it's really important to track progress and to come back together and say, okay, so we made this new plan. Obviously, it may not go as smoothly as expected, but how could we keep improving this? What else could be done that could be done better to make this easier? Understand others may argue with your boundary setting, and they may not even agree to this change. So that's where it's important for you to decide what battles are you going to pick? What are you clearly not going to do? And paying attention to what you need and your self-care is really important here. So with boundary setting, the system may not understand why this has to happen, and it may take some time, years, months, weeks. I can't tell you exactly, depending on the situation, but at the end of the day, you have to live with what you're asking for. And even if others aren't able to understand that, it's important for you to understand how you need to get through each day in a healthy manner. So that's it for today. I mean, I could talk about boundaries for a long time, and they're different for different circumstances, boundaries in relationships, individuals, at work, with bosses, colleagues, etc. I'll probably cover this much more in the future as well, and I encourage you to bring up a boundary or situation that you find is difficult, and I'll do my best to provide some suggestions if you have. Stay tuned. I hope to keep doing these videos at least weekly, and I welcome any suggestions. Topics for future videos are also welcomed, and feel free to email me at joregonrose at yahoo.com, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.